Welcome back to Mayhem. I am currently at war with the Terrans down here by Heretic's End, which is my sector, and I've got this border with them. And the Terrans have some of the strongest fleets in all of Mayhem. They have the Tobosakos, they also have the ATF to back them up. And they usually steamroll the Paranid, as they've been doing down here as well. And they've also been attacking me every now and then. So what I need to do is, I'm allies with the Talati. I'm going to take over Mercury and install a puppet Talati government there. That will allow the Talati to act as a buffer zone. And this will mean that the Terrans will not have an adjacent border with me, so I will only have to worry about the Pirates and Argon, and then later Xenon once I consume them. And I will not have to worry about the Terrans. And I will know, due to the announcements, when the Terrans attack this Talati sector, so I can jump in there and back up the Talati fleet. And that way I get to fight full-strength battle groups as well. So real quick, I just finished boarding a Ray, a Boron capital ship, so I'm going to quickly add it to the fleet. So the way I add ships to the fleet is I set their auto jumps. I just boarded this one. I don't even bother equipping them because I have so many ships it really doesn't matter. I'm going to give it some energy cells real quick. Doesn't really matter how many. It already dropped off the Marines. I'm gonna dock it at the Sanctuary, the main shipyard that has all the equipment, that is. Oh, it already has quantum jump gate. That's amazing. So what I usually do is I have all these Rangers. So Rangers 4 through 9 because the rest have been consumed. Every time I get a new ship that I add to the fleet, and this goes back when I used to salvage M6s as well, is I freight exchange with the lowest Ranger. I grab whatever equipment. In this case, it doesn't really need any more equipment. And then I simply self-destruct the Ranger. And the Rangers are all garbage quality, and they're just free equipment. So the Ray is good. I'm not even going to look at what weapons it has. I'm going to add it to the, let's see, the 3rd Starliner dock. I'm going to tell it to return home. It's now part of MLCC. I already have another Ray, so I don't even have to worry about configuring it. Hide from property menu, and we're good. That's interesting. I did not give any orders over there, but it looks like some Terrans were passing through my sector, and my carrier group, which is set to idle here in Heretic's End, has launched all its fighters and is now engaging the enemy for me. That's really cool. Mayhem's fleet system is awesome. So these are actually, it's 1 Xenon J and 2 Terrans. The Talati Terrans are M7s, but they actually hold more than the Xenon J. As awesome as the Xenon J is, it's one of my favorite ships. It's really a bad carrier. It has one of the lowest docking capacities in the game, especially for an M1. I think only the Pirate Galleon is worse. But anyway, it's the fleet commander, and I think they're just set to fleet rally call to arms. And they automatically handle fighters, and fighters are automatically home-based among the 3 carriers. So it's a pretty cool system. So anyway, now that we have that new Ray, we are going to launch an invasion of Mercury. And isn't that just perfect? My ship's shields have just gone to 0. So, interesting thing about using ships that you board is that you don't know the build quality. Whenever I build ships, they're always impeccable quality, but when you have ships that you boarded, you have no idea what quality they are. So I can't use this ship right this second because my crate has basically just lost all of its shields. So I have a Xenon J standing by that I have not done anything with because it's a carrier and I don't really have a purpose for it yet. I am going to, actually, let's see, I don't know if it has quantum jump gate. It does not, so I'm going to make this my temporary player ship. So I'm going to use my method of exchanging with a Ranger, grab the quantum jump gate, self-destruct the Ranger. Ranger's gone, J is set. I don't think its jump drive settings are set, but I don't like having auto jump on a player ship. So I'm going to tell it to jump to me. And I don't even know what weapons it has, but it's an M1 that has decent shielding, so I just need something to keep me alive during the fight, and something to call in MLCC. Because what I typically do is I jump to the center of the sector just before MLCC jumps in, and then I jump out. And I suppose since all my ships have quantum jump gate, I can just tell them all to jump to the center. But because they're spread across multiple Starliner docks rather than in a fleet together, I need to use the rally system. So I'm going to need the jump beacon. Let's grab it from the crate. And I just ran out of range. Oh, perfect. Looks like we have a pirate exterminator visiting. And it looks like the pirates have done something in Spires of Illusion. We can basically ignore this though, because fleet broadcast to all fleet ships. We can tell the fleet that I don't use anymore, which is still extremely strong, to wreck that guy. The crate should be following me. Let's see, what's its range at? We need to freight exchange with that crate. Alright, we've got another Starliner dock built. I'll have to remember to do something with that. Okay, a J may not be the best choice. I need an M7 somewhere, but I don't want to grab one out of MLCC or another fleet to fly, because this K was just, I mean this J was just standing by. Alright, we got the jump beacon, and maybe a couple satellites, and I think we're good. Let's see, this J, let's see, info. Yeah, we've got all the shields we need, we're good. And it looks like this poor exterminator has some company coming out of the gate. I'm surprised my ships haven't crashed into each other coming out of the gate. But anyway, let's go launch the invasion of Mercury. Was that a shipyard I saw? It is a shipyard. So if I can take out that shipyard, it'll be one less spawn point for the Terrans. One less battle group to have to worry about. Okay. Thankfully, this battle group doesn't look that dense, actually. We have 2 Tobosakus. Those are some of the most powerful destroyers in the entire game, but isolated like that, they should be no problem. And another thing I've done is I have about 100 Verdandis, which are heavy fighters that I've been building for the longest time on a loop. And I have them all standing by with jump drives this time. So, let's see. I don't even have them in a fleet, but I can simply broadcast to all ships because I don't use fighters besides them. I don't use any other M4s or M3s or anything. So let's see if they all jump to me. They're using the gate because I'm not near the center of the sector. Alright, looks like they're boarding me, because I am a carrier after all. Let's see. I think I'm going to summon just a little bit of the fleet right now, because I have to do something, because my J isn't going to be able to hold off this, looks like a Yokohama. It's a Chiku. Actually not too familiar with that ship. It looks kind of like a Karyudo. Kind of like a Tukon. But I'm actually not too familiar with this one. So something I hate about Mercury is that blinding sun. If Jubarb is watching this, please consider removing that subtype from the universe generator. It simply makes this sector very unpleasant to be in. I should have gone into the map file and manually changed it before this as well. That way I can freely move the camera. Let's give the MLCC command. It looks like the entire fleet has been aggroed. Now, I know from experience that the entire fleet is aggroed on me, so they're all going to be coming for my J rather than the MLCC fleet. So now that the fleet's in a good position, I am going to jump to the opposite gate. That will draw all of the fighters around, and I'm going to take turns jumping back and forth between gates. And that will make the Terran fleet move back and forth crazily while my fleet mops them up. Looks like we still have Verdandis jumping in. Let's see, am I in immediate danger? I am not. So, let's tell our Verdandis, which are still set to following me. Let's see. M3s, attack all enemies. So they should move in and attack all enemies. Gosh, that sun is bright. I can't really look at that direction. Let's see, what have we got here? Looks like a Nagoya. So it does have a whole bunch of ships in a giant X formation around it, but it's impossible to see with this sector. Sector's background is definitely not the most visible. Oh, that's bad. The rest of my Verdandis decided that the... That's weird. Why... My camera is centered on an invisible ship. I don't know what happened there. We've got more invisible ships. I'm actually running basically vanilla Mayhem, except for the few stat changes I've made, so I don't know if that's a bug with Mayhem or what's going on there. I guess I don't have my video enhancement goggles either. But the fleet battle is going on. So the Shrikes all have incendiary bomb launchers, and those weren't... I mean, I certainly had to build all of those too, so I put a lot of materials into those, but you'll see that there's not a single incendiary bomb launcher shot, which are yellow, firing off from these Shrikes, even though they need to attack their enemies with it. And I think that's because of the broadsiding mechanics of Mayhem. And I don't know for sure, but I know in Litcube's universe that Shrikes will happily, and all ships will happily use their main guns. Now they're not front turrets, so that might be it. Let's see, the Terrans, aside from that Nagoya, they've only got, let's see, a Kyoto, a Solaris, and 2 Towasapas. The only real danger that I might run into is if the Solaris happens to have a whole bunch of shadow missiles. But if that doesn't happen, then I think we'll be just fine. Because the Solaris actually has missile turrets like an M7M. At least it did in Litcube's universe. I don't know about Mayhem. It's pretty interesting. I've got so many particles being rendered that the thruster trail from the Verdandi is not being rendered properly. I don't know what's going on in the center of this sector. It says I have Verdandis here. They were told to follow me. I jumped in the middle of that order. So the rest of them that were waiting in line to jump to the gate, because they can't all jump at once to a gate, I don't know, they just appeared at the center of the sector or what? Let's see. V Gamma. This is where they used to be. Yeah, they're not here. Alright, it's time for me to summon the rest of my fleet. I know I should be using MLCC groups, but I don't have a lot of ships in my MLCC fleet. That's something I learned early on in Litcube's universe, is set my J to shoot down those missiles since I don't have chaff. Probably don't have chaff. No, I do. 4 chaff. Is not to put a whole bunch of massively diverse ships all in MLCC, because if you do that, you will have a massive amount to configure all the same. So this way I have all my Corvettes are the same exact model, and therefore they can all do the same exact thing. You tell my ship to stop moving so it stops advancing. It doesn't look like my fleet is doing so good down there. I'm losing a few Verdandis, but they each take like a minute to make each at the shipyard. I mean, they're relatively free, so I'm not too worried about losing them. They're basically very expensive but very effective fighter drones at this point, because I have a second shipyard that I can just have building those. I recently set that shipyard to start building Xenon Ps on a loop, and it looks like it's... Ps are extremely cheap for Corvettes, but they can have 8 they can have 8 Corvette weapons on the front. And that many in a massive group is going to be very effective, I think. So I'm going to start a P wing. That's pretty cool. In the background, you can see my Xenon pink thrusters all in the formation here. I don't know how obvious it is, but the Xenon are my favorite ship design in all of X3. Just like how the ships are designed. I need to also get a fighter wing of L's or something. You know, I completely forgot. My J has a bunch of Verdandis. Let's see. What did I just tell them to do? There we go. Verdandis away. Thruster trail's not rendering. It's to be expected with a battle this big. Looks like the Kyoto has such impressive firepower, but I know that it's not very threatening because its hull strength is quite pitiful. So once the shields go down, it's not going to last much longer. I can set my turrets back to attack enemies now that there are no missile threats. The Terran ship just went down. The Terran fighter wing on the bottom south of the sector is gone, except for the Nagoya. Looks like, you know, the air's cleared enough that my Verdandis are showing their thruster trails again. You can see the massive fight unfolding in the background. Let's cut back to that. And Nagoya is certainly going to go down. Still at 90% shields, doing just fine. Now, as awesome as the Xenon Capitals are, in my mind anyway, the Xenon M7s are perhaps the worst in the game. I mean, there's no real hiding it. I know I'm going for the whole Xenon architect thing with the Xenon fleet, but the C's and the Q's are really, really bad. They are pretty fast, though, but I feel like once I have enough of them in numbers, it shouldn't be any problem. It is concerning, though, that I can't figure out how to get capital ships to use their forward weapons. Let's see, I think the Q's do have forward-mounted guns rather than forward turrets. I can't really check because MLCC naming conventions. Let's see, is the Kyoto down yet? No, Kyoto's still good. Looks like all of the Verdandis out of my J are going after it. Alright, pulling off. Oh, that's not good. We just lost a Q. Decided it wanted to give me a hug. Well, that's not a big deal. I'm not even going to reload because they're worth basically nothing at this point. My main shipyard will have a new Xenon Q for me in 53 minutes of impeccable quality. And I have more than enough guns to equip it. And I can repair this J immediately, so it's not a big deal. At least I didn't die and get game over, because that would have been annoying. So it looks like we have the two Tobosakos looming in the distance, and the Verdandis are going to head straight for them. So because there's a group of Verdandis down here attacking Nagoya, and there's a group going straight to death, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell all Verdandis in the sector, quickly, is attack the Nagoya. That way the bottom group can continue their attack, while the top group will break off. You can see they're turning right here, and they're heading towards the Nagoya. This will protect them while the rest of the fleet handles the Tobosakus. Let's see, how is that Nagoya actually doing? Can't really see the Verdandis, but a lot of fighter firepower coming in here. They're all using plasma guns as their main weapons. And they use the... Well, what do you know? I just crashed into another Xenon C. Certainly unfortunate. That's actually kind of funny. Wasn't paying too much attention. I guess the Xenon J is just really big and it has those big spikes coming off of it. So the collision must be interesting, you know, weird or something. I've never had these issues flying my crate around, which is my normal ship. Well, anyway, I'm confident I could have taken that sector over, so I will have to install a puppet government another time.